Olá, tudo bem? Como está o senhor?
Todo
Está bien. Mire el background que puse.
Hoy Cartagena, ya me acuerdo, David.
Exactamente. A ver cuánta gente entra. ¿Quiénes entran? A ver, los meto acá.
Vai ter alguma legenda, Ramina?
Vai ser em inglês. Por enquanto só tem uma gringa, Pat. Temos a Denise. A Denise também é gringa.
I know what you're saying. I know what you said.
Right. When I say that gringa loca, that means a respectable ancient lady from Kansas.
Yeah, right. I remember enough of high school Spanish to know that's not true.
So let's see if more people come in.
Look at it.
John is there with us.
Aha, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Denise.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hello, Ms. Sigler. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be starting any minute now. Okay. Let's see how many more people will show up.
Well, if you wait long enough, everybody will show up.
That's true. Well.
Oh, wait, where is this location behind you, Joe?
I'll explain in a minute. Chill.
Chill? How can I chill when I'm in a foreign place?
Cartagena. Behind me is Cartagena. That's where last time I was with Edgar, I was in Cartagena, where he helped me do a conversion.
Cartagena de Indias.
Cartagena de exactly.
De Indias.
Wow.
So why don't you shut up and let him tell us?
So I'll just introduce this then and hope that maybe more people will come in. Welcome. This is one of our Havdalah series. Well, perhaps one of the most exciting opinion. I will ask you guys, John, try to be muted.
What is it?
Mute your.
I'll mute.
Okay, and then I'm gonna mute Denise and Ms. Myrna as well. Hope she doesn't mind. Good. So now I have everybody muted. Let's hope so. And given the time, what we'll do is that we're gonna hear from Edgar first, and then we will have Havdalah. Again, I'm very excited because Edgar is not only one of my most wonderful students, but has been a friend, has been a mentor to me by teaching me, a man who has a most unbelievable life story and a real saint, a really kind, wonderful man. So you don't need to listen from me, you need to listen to him. So I will let him talk, and then when he's done, people can ask questions. And then once you're done asking questions, we will have Havdalah. Okay? Edgar, you need to unmute yourself. And then you can do whatever you want. You have the pulpit.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good night. I thank Rabbi Jas Kickerthorn and the Great Temple community for sharing my personal experience as a new member of the Jewish people. I begin by thanking the Eternal for allowing me to be part of the Jewish people by the hand of a man of extraordinary wisdom and human quality, Rabbi Jacques Kierkegaard. I'm a former Catholic priest converted to Judaism. I was born in Bogota, Colombia, in 1954. My family is moderate Catholic. I was the eldest of 5 sons. My parents, despite the scarce economic resources, always had in mind to provide their children the best possible education. I did my high school at the American School of Bogota, where I had contact with students of several religious creeds, including 2 Jewish students, Esther Feleman and Ralph Kuberek. Their families migrated to Colombia during the World War II. The Feleman family came from the Netherlands, and the Kuberek family came from Poland. I remember also an English teacher named Mariana, who was a survivor of the Shoah. She used to be an anxious person, probably because of her suffering at the hands of the Nazis. With Hitler coming to power in 1933 in the war, a significant number of Jews immigrated to Colombia from Germany and Poland mainly. Many of them were professional people who ended up dedicating themselves preferentially to trade. They were known as the Polacos, which means Poles. In a few years, they became part of the local business, despite restriction on Jewish immigration by the Colombian government. I remember an episode very significant to me. I was still a high school student, and I was on Caracas Avenue, one of Bogota's main streets. Suddenly, I warned close to me of the presence of an elderly man who was preparing to cross the busy avenue. I offered him my help, and he accepted. We walked together a few blocks, a tour in which he told me he was a Jewish man. I asked him about his family, and he told me, all my family perished in Nazi death camps. His answer left me in shock. So I told him, I also want to be Jewish. He looked into my eyes and told me with deep pain that it was very difficult to be a Jew in the world. After that, I visited the synagogue attended by the old man. The synagogue is closed today. I remind pleasantly Rabbi Alfred Goldschmidt's teachings of Patriarch Joseph and the Pharaoh's dreams. Although I did not understand liturgical language, I felt involved in the celebration. I remember the Jewish expression, Good Shabbat. My interest in Judaism started growing. A question arose in me. Why am I so attracted to Judaism and the Jewish people? Is there any link between me and the Jewish people? I needed to get an answer to my concern. I spent most of my free time to read about the Jews and their rich history, about their ties to Latin America. I understood that there is a strong and profound historical connection between the Jews in Latin America, The Spanish and Portuguese Inquisition in the 15th century and the expulsion of the Jews from Spain caused descendants of Anusin called Marranos to reach Spanish and Portuguese America. The Jews were an important part of Latin Americans' roots, so were non-Jewish Europeans, American Aboriginal, and African people. Over time, I came to understand that making Judaism my spiritual place was a call of the eternal. College year came. I studied law at the National University of Colombia, and for a few years declined my interest in Judaism to devote myself to law and social studies. I became a socially unhappy student who wanted the social order to become fairer to everyone. Colombia is a country with many profound social inequalities. Jewish thinkers were always present in my university education, as Karl Marx, Spinoza, Theodor Adorno, Erich Fromm, and Sigmund Freud, among others. I have great admiration for Professor Salomon Kalmanovich, a prominent Jewish historian and economist linked to the National University of Colombia. As a lawyer, I served as independent lawyer and as a public employee at the National University itself, the Ministry of Labor and the Surcolombiana University in Neiva, a city located in southern Colombia, 300 kilometers from Bogotá, where I lived almost 30 years. I wanted to serve the poor and the needy in society, and I thought a means of doing so would be priesthood. I decided, after several years of professional practice as a lawyer, to contact Diocese of Neiva and go to study theology at the National Seminary Christ the Priest in the northwest of the country. It was a significant experience in my life. I had the opportunity to have outstanding professors of theology and meet seminarians from various places in Colombia and other countries, such as the United States, Mexico, Peru, and Puerto Rico. I especially remember Father Elkin Alvarez, my professor of biblical studies, trained at the so-called Biblical Institute in Jerusalem. Father Elkin was a jovial and very human man. He has knowledge of the Hebrew and Aramaic languages. Father Alvarez aroused in my great interest in Bible studies and the history and religion of the Jewish people present in the very roots of Christianity. After my studies in seminary, I returned to Diocese of Neiva and served in several parishes. Those were very difficult years in rural parishes. While I was a parish priest in the village of Santa Maria, located among the central mountains of Colombia, I had to live together with the local inhabitants to attacks by the FARC guerrillas. I was in the middle of the war and came to think that my days were coming to an end. In the parishes where I served, I always counted on the love and support of parishioners. On my return to Neiva, I was appointed by the bishop of the diocese as parish priest of the cathedral. A deep contradiction invaded my heart. On the one hand, my love for parishioners and the social work for the poorest and neediest. On the other hand, the teachings of the church that I considered contradictory to the teaching of the Bible. I asked myself fundamental questions. For example, if the Bible teaches that the eternal is neither man nor son of man, why the church teaches that Jesus is God? How to reconcile the ban of having other gods and making images with the Catholic theology of images and worship of saints? Contrary to Judaism, the Catholic Church, as well as the other Christian churches, base their teachings on dogma, a truth of faith that cannot be questioned, only accepted by the faithful. Questioning the divinity of Jesus, as I did, placed me in the situation of being excommunicated from the church ipso facto, that is, without any process. I was convinced that Jesus of Nazareth had not founded any religion, and that he was born Jewish, lived as such, and died being Jewish. The ethical behavior of Christian was the observance of the 10 Commandments. These teachings caused division to point me as a Judaizer. I presented my question in a written document to the bishop without having received any answer from him. This led me to make the decision to give the bishop the parish to my office and to depart forever from the Catholic Church. By then, I had had the opportunity to speak by phone with Rabbi Jacques, who invited me to reflect on my situation and offer me his guidance and help. I felt that the Eternal was with me by sending this wonderful human being to guide me. When I spoke to the bishop about my radical decision, in the bottom of my heart, I said to the Eternal, I go empty, but I know that you will put your hands to receive me. The decision was made. It was not an easy decision, but it was the right way forward. My mother and brothers respected and supported my decision. My father had already died. After leaving the Catholic Church, I continued living in the city of Neiva. I was astonished by the fact that when I was on the street as a former priest and a former Catholic, people used to express their sorrow for my departure, but never reproached my decision. I believe that in this circumstance, there was also the action of the Eternal. In the past, a cleric's decision to abandon the church to embrace Judaism would surely have provoked perhaps violent reactions or even death. The times, thanks to the Eternal, have changed to give way to freedom of conscience, guaranteed by the Article 18 of the Political Constitution of Colombia that says, freedom of conscience is guaranteed. No one will be disturbed by their convictions or beliefs or compelled to reveal them or forced to act against their conscience. I must say, in any case, that my relations with Catholics are cordial and respectful. I think Pope Francis is a friend of the Jewish people and a leader who fights for immigrant rights and social justice in the world. August 27, 2012, according to the 9th day of Elul's month of 5772 of the Hebrew calendar. At the Kehilat Hatikva congregation in San Cristobal, Venezuela, I entered into the historic covenant between the Eternal and the people of Israel of my own free will. During my process of conversion to Judaism, I have, in addition to the support and direction of Rabbi Jack Tuckercorn, the reception and support of the Brit Bahá community of Mexico. I consider More Israel Rocha, More Eyal, Enish, and every member of Brit Bahá as my spiritual family in Judaism. Now, I feel that my spiritual family has become bigger by coming into contact with the great temple community in Kansas City. It makes me really happy. In 2016, I wrote a book titled Akvot, Huellas, Contribution to the History of the Jewish Presence in Colombia, in which from the arrival of Columbus to this day, the presence and contribution of Jews in the formation of Latin American nation is highlighted. Akvot is a Hebrew word that means footprints. In the book, I highlight the fact that in Colombia, as in many other Latin American countries, there is a growing interest in Judaism. For many, however, it's not easy to access the teachings of Judaism. It is almost impossible to enter existing traditional Jewish communities. In these circumstances, Rabbi Jack Tuckercorn's work to allow the return or arrival of new Jews to the people of Israel has a special significance. It has led to the transformation of the lives of hundreds of people in Latin America, as has happened in my case. Let me quote this teaching of the Talmud on the Jewish lineage. Certainly, when it comes to lineage, all the people of Israel are brothers. We are all children of a father. The rebels, Reshaim, and the criminals, the heretics, Meshumadim, the seals, Anusim, the proselytes, Gerim, who are attached to Jacob's house. They are all Israelites. Even if they left God or denied him or violated his law, the yoke of the law is still on his shoulders and will never be removed from them. The Jewish people possess an ethnic plurality and a common destiny. I was able to confirm this during my visits to Israel. As Albert Einstein would say, Jews are certainly a mixed race, exactly like all other groups in our civilization. Honest anthropologists agree on this point. Contrary claims belong to all political propaganda and must be judged accordingly. As a member of Brit Bahá, I strive to live the Jewish values from a liberal and inclusive perspective. With respect to other perspectives of living Judaism and respect religious traditions other than Judaism. I believe in the need of interreligious dialogue to help achieve the long-awaited peace of the Messianic era, announced by the prophet Isaiah. It will happen in future days that the mount of the house of the Eternal will be seated in the middle of the mountains and rise up in the hills. All nations will converge upon him, and numerous peoples will come. I thank all of you for the attention you have paid to me. I wish you well-being and peace in your lives and your homes. Let us work together for the unity of the Jewish people and make the world a better place. L'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim.
Excelente, Edgar. Fabulous.
Thank you.
I would like to know, Edgar is always so wonderful, so inspiring, so well thought. I'd like to know if anybody has a question. Anybody?
Edgar, it's John, I didn't quite understand why you couldn't find what you were looking for in the church.
Well, I have an attraction for Judaism when I was very young, okay? And you remember that I was talking about the old man who I helped to cross the avenue, and he told me he was a Jewish and that he lost his family, okay? And I had some contact with some fellows in high school too. And I like to read the Bible, and I found some difference between the teachings of the church and the Bible teachings, very especially about the divinity of Jesus Christ and about the interpretation that the Catholic Church has about the Ten Commandments, for example, okay? The ban of images and many other religious practices that are not according to the teachings of the Bible. But that made me to have many contradictions and questions, and I didn't have really an answer. The bishop didn't answer my questions, okay? And the church teaches that you have to believe and you cannot make questions about, because the Catholic Church has some dogmas. That means truth or belief that you cannot question. Okay, Jan, is that right? I mean,
yeah.
You understand what I said?
I did. I think that is a powerful testimony to the history of Judaism, that basically the requirement that we question is the tradition, and it is why that probably is the most sensitive understanding of the difference between the way, at least Catholicism, as I understand it, and Judaism separate, because the need to question it precedes authority. And that I appreciate that very much. It helps me understand where I am better. Thank you.
You know, you and I come to Judaism from different paths, in the sense that you come from Catholicism, I come from Protestantism. But you know, certainly the question of doctrine is key. Once I mean, initially, Christianity was Catholicism, which was the empire. The rabbis called Rome Edom, and that transferred to the church as the empire with Constantinople. But going back before that, it's really interesting to me as a Protestant, as someone coming from the Protestant tradition. I see the problem as Paul having jumped the gun. If the rabbis had the chance to sort out Jesus, I think the outcome would have been very, very different. I think he got to the Gentiles too soon. He was a Hellenized diaspora Jew, which was very different from a Palestinian Jew. To me, that has been the critical factor in the split, which I consider tragic, because I think Jesus was a Jew. I think he was an observant Jew. I'm just sort of rambling on, but I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Yes, I think that, well, in theologists in Christianity, very especially Protestant, they began to study about Jesus, and they Bullman was a very important thinker in Protestant church, who said Jesus had, there is a historic Jesus. Probably he was a Jewish man. He lived like a Jewish man, and the Christ is the Christ of the faith. Okay? The Christ is kind of like a construction. The Christ was a concept built by Christian community. During the 3rd or 4th centuries, maybe. So there is a difference between the Jesus as a man, as a historic man, and the Jesus as a Christ. Christ, the word Christo, Christ is a Greek word. It's Greek.
Which simply means the Mashiach.
Yes, more or less Mashiach, but there is a difference. And some Jewish thinker have been talking about Jesus as a rabbi of the 1st century, but obviously Jesus was not a Messiah, the Messiah. Jesus was not a God. Jesus was a man, okay, a Jewish man, a Jewish rabbi. Well, there are many discussions about that, but I think that the difference between Christianity and Judaism is basically that Judaism teaches that God is one and can be divided. And obviously, Judaism doesn't accept that Jesus is God. Okay? And the Christianity teaches that Jesus is composed by 3 persons: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Okay? So there is a very deep distance between Judaism and Christianity in that point.
I have a question. Have you done any research into your ancestors to find out if perhaps far back in your lineage there were some Jews?
Thanks for the question. I believe that in my case, and in the case of many, many Latin Americans, we have probably Jews or Jewish ancestors, especially coming from Spain and Portugal, as the descendants of the Marranos, okay? Marranos were the Jews who were converted to Christianity because of the Inquisition, okay? And I wrote a book, I told you that I wrote a book, Akvot. I talked about that. Many of the last names, like mine, for example, my last name is Mendez, was this last name was very useful between Jews, Spanish and Portuguese Jews. And probably most or many Latin Americans, we have Jewish ancestors. Obviously, we have African ancestors and our original people ancestors too, okay? But we have a very deep link between the Jews and Latin American nations. That's why there is that's because there is a growing interest in Latin America. Many people is asking about, oh, what happened? Do I have Jewish ancestors? Okay, and people is searching, and it's interesting and growing interest in Judaism. Excuse me. For example, many of the, what do you say in English? Thinkings, words, rabbi. The rabbi is there, maybe.
Yeah.
Rabbi, ¿cómo dice dichos? Dichos in English.
Sayings.
Okay.
Sayings.
Okay. Many of the sayings of our grandparents, if you compare that sayings with the Sephardi people sayings, are are the same or very similar. See, in many ways of life that we have in Colombia, very especially in rural areas, you can find footprints of Jewish princes among the people in the country. That happens in Mexico too, and many places in Latin America.
Speaking of footprints, is your book for sale? Is it in French?
Well, you can.
It's in Spanish.
Yes, it's in Spanish, but you can find it in Google. You Akvot, you try to find Akvot, Huellas Judías, and you will get the book.
Me manda una, yo le mando a él.
Okay.
Oh, Matthew, you hit the lottery the day you came to Temple Israel. Now send me one and I'll send you a copy.
Okay.
Anybody else? This was really lovely. Again, I thought it would be very worthwhile, and it is. Anybody else?
Me, please.
Yeah.
Hi, Edgar. Thank you so much for you speaking today. It was awesome. And I would like to ask you a couple of questions about if you still you have to deal with racism or to be apart because the people who knew you as a Catholic priest in these days. And the second question is if you think that one of the mission of the Catholic and Protestant Church is to form or create people, good people, as a good people and as an obedient people, because it calls my attention what you said about that you can question some dogmas of the Catholic Church. And that's my two questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much and congratulations.
Okay. Well, I answer first of all your second question, okay? In the Christian religious system, we have dogmas, which means principles, or maybe verdades de fe in Spanish, okay? That you can't question the dogmas, because if you question the dogma, you're outside of the church, Okay? If you say Jesus is not God, you are questioning the dogma, and automatically you are outside of the church, ipso facto, right? The church, you cannot discuss some of that religious beliefs, all right? Different in Judaism. You can discuss, you can have many opinions. Okay? God is one, but each one has his own experience of God, all right? Okay? Catholicism has dogmas. And obviously other Christian churches, they have dogmas. You can. The church is not a democrat. The church has a very hierarchy, and you cannot discuss about it. Okay? So it's very, very, very hard for if you are a thinker and you are questioning if you like free speech, you will have trouble into the Catholic Church. But I don't remember the first question.
You have to deal with racism.
Racism?
From people who knew you as a priest, as a Catholic.
No? You mean racism? Racismo?
Racismo, sí.
Sí.
No, I don't. I don't have, no, I do not.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Edgar.
Okay. No, welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I would like very much to get your manuscript. If you have an extra copy available, I'd like to read it. That if that's possible. Okay. The question I have, this must have been a very difficult, emotionally driven kind of decision to take, particularly since you were not just a Catholic, a practicing Catholic, but you occupied an important position in the church, and to give it up must have been quite a sacrifice. I would like to know, and you may have covered it in your script, I would like to know if there were different phases that you went through with regard to whether or not you wished to convert to Judaism.
No, before Edgar answers, I will tell you two things. Number one is I have never had a student that I screamed at as much and I fought as much as Edgar to tell him not to convert. Just for start, true or not? ¿Verdad?
Yeah, that's right.
So,
yes.
Above all, because he had so much vested into it, the moment he became a Jew and he left the church, among other things, he lost his retirement that he had with the Catholic. Yes. You know, this is a very minor point, and it's a financially important one, but I'm sure it was a minor point. Because they have like all kinds of fights with him to say, don't do this, don't be stupid, you know, get a hobby, begin collecting stamps, you know, get something better to do with your life and become a Jew. But he wouldn't listen to me. Now I'll let him answer.
Yes, that's right, Rabbi. It's right. Well, I lost many things. I mean, yes, I had a house. It was one of the most important positions in the Church of Neiva, mine, because I was the parish of the cathedral. You know, that's the most important parish in Neiva. And I have a luxurious car, maybe many things. But a rabbi told me, Edgar, think about, are you going you are going to lose all of those things? But my decision was to become a Jewish man, okay? And I remember the words of this old man who I helped to cross the avenue. Being Jew, to become a Jew is not easy. No, it's not easy, okay? But that makes me happy anyway, okay? And that is, for me, is the most important. I feel that Judaism is my spiritual home and makes me better as human, okay? And in Judaism, I'm studying, I'm serving people. I love Christians too. I love everyone, right? Blacks, I don't care. I love everyone, okay? And well, that's the most important, to try to live the Judaism and to make of the world a better place. That's my mission that I think that the Eternal gave to me.
Yes. How many years did you go through that struggle about whether or not you were going to leave the church? How many years?
Yeah, well, I told you, when I was a teenager and I was in high school, I used to visit a synagogue, okay? I have the opportunity to meet Rabbi Alfred Goldschmidt, for example, okay? And I don't know, I felt attracted. I liked to visit that synagogue. The synagogue is today closed because most of the people, they have died because they were very old men that came from Europe, okay? There are some other synagogues in other places in the city, but that one is closed today. But I used to go Shabbat, and I didn't understand a word because most of the people used to speak in Yiddish. I don't speak Yiddish, okay? But I felt very attracted. And that is a mysterious, I don't know why, but it happened. So the decision has a background of many, many years in my life.
Okay.
Excuse me, do I understand that you are a lawyer?
Yeah. Excuse me, sir?
You're a lawyer?
Yes, I am. I'm a lawyer.
Okay. And so, did you become a lawyer before you became a priest?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, in Latin American, you don't have to be soulless to be a lawyer. It's not a part of the admission exam. Well, folks, anybody else?
That's a good question. Can I
Sure.
ask? This is sort of just a practical question. In the city where you live now, there are other Jews. Is that right?
Yes. We have. Bogotá is a very big city now. Okay, it's maybe 8 million people.
Oh.
It's a big city like Chicago, maybe.
So there are synagogues or temples.
Yes, but they're very close now. You know, because I understand. Okay, you know, maybe security. Okay, but there are some new Jewish communities conformed by local people too. Okay? Several in Bogotá, in Medellin, and Cali. That is a new reality in Colombia. The Colombians have been converting to Judaism, and they are conforming. They have their own communities, like new communities, not traditional Jewish communities that came from Europe, from European Jews, no, Colombian people. That is a very interesting phenomenon that we are living in Colombia and many Latin American countries.
Thank you.
Well, you know, I'm wondering if I should say it or not, but when in doubt, Denise would want me not to say, but I will say it. You know, 10 years ago, it's when we started the temple. It's when I went through all the hell I was put through by another congregation in town. And part of the repentance the Reform movement gave me, or suggested, was that I should stop doing this. Now it's true that you got to see the best one of them all. You know, but there are many, many other wonderful people like Israel Rocha and Charton Baggio. There's a bunch of them. And there's some who are not so wonderful. You know, the students and converts come in all flavors. Not all of them are like Pat, you know, here. So, but, you know, this Edgar is what the Reform movement wanted me to abandon and to leave behind. So when you talk with me about the New Reform Temple or about the Reform movement in general, that's why I want to vomit. Okay? So now you have a true reality here. Well, if nobody has anything nice to say.
I just have one question. Who is the other Comunidad Brit Braja? I saw a lady and a baby.
Oh, that's the synagogue we have in Mexico City. Somehow I get their own login. I don't know how to change it. So
okay.
We have tried, you know, in and out to have a community in Colombia as well. Edgar is our man there, but you know, people, it's a complicated story. Not for today, for another session perhaps. But you know what? I'll have Denise come down so she can help me with Havdalah. We can get the Havdalah done. And if anybody is in Kansas City and is up for Nepalese food, the Cooker Corns are making the trek to that place there on 119th. And I managed to con Denise into it. And I'm hungry, actually. So I should put this show on the road. So I want to thank you. I just want to tell you something else, which is that next one, I believe, is going to be, I think there's this cantor in Lincoln, Nebraska, that helped a neo-Nazi convert to Judaism. You get fabulous stories only at Temple Israel. Other temples you get, you know, somebody telling you about social justice. They only talk, they don't do it. Here at Temple Israel, we do it. Anyway, Denise here is our helper. If you happen to have the prayer books on page 414, let me put this here. That's the wife over there, helping, providing some moral support. That's her. Light on her left hand now. On page 414. Hold it there. Well, we'll just leave it there for the time being. Yeah, you can have it. Okay. So briefly, fellow Israelites, let me move this a little out here. Okay, here, good. Our ancestors took words from scripture to voice their thanks to God, sustains us from week to week. Within their ancient words of praise, we find prayer for life and health in the week to come. And their faith be as well as we make their prayers our own. הנה לישועתי אפתח ולא אפחד, כי עזיבה זמרתיה, ויהי לי לישועה, ושפתם מים בששון ממעייני ישועה, לאדוני ישועה, לך בבטחתך סלע, אדוני צבאות עמנו משגב לנו אלוהי יעקב סלע, אדוני צבאות אשר ידם בוטח בה, אדוני יושיע מלך ינינו ויום קוראנו, ליהודים הייתה אורה ושמחה וששון ועיקר, כן תהיה לנו. Kos Yeshua Tesau, B'Shem Adonai Ekra. Kiddush gladdens our heart. In this gladness, we look beyond the ugliness and misery that deface our world. May our eyes always be open to unnoticed beauty and to blessings yet to be recognized. May we be ever mindful of our promise to help repair the brokenness of our world. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. And then we do that. The added soul that Shabbat is said to confer is leaving us now. The fragrance of these spices lift our spirits in the moment of departing. It reminds us that the next 6 days also will pass and Shabbat will return. Their bouquet makes us yearn with thankful hearts for the sweetness of rest and the fragrance of growing things. We're grateful for the dream of a world healed from pain, pure and whole, as on the first Shabbat when God rested from the work of having made our world. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei besamim. Smell the besamim? Good. They're smelled. Shabbat now departs, and the workday begins as we behold the flame, that flame there. We thank God for the energy and talent by which we turn Earth's raw materials into things of use and beauty. Double week reminds us that all qualities are paired. We have the power to create many different fires, some useful, others harmful. May we never use our powers to do harm to our world. May the fire we kindle be holy ones, that we may bring light and warmth to all humanity. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh. And then hold it high, don't burn the house. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh lechol, ben or lechoshech, ben yom hashvi'i lesheshet yemei ha'maaseh. Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. Drink here. I drink. No, we shouldn't go there. We're putting down hand. Hold it. Oh, turn it down like this. So people can see. Don't burn your hand. With good fire, you have good. Amavdil ben kodesh lechol, atotenu im chol, zarenu vekaspeinu yarbe kakol kekochavim balayla. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. As you can see, this is not the Ventrop Rabbinical house. And we finish with Eliyahu Hanavi. Everybody can be online and unmute yourselves and do it. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agiladi, Bimera beyamenu, Yavo elenu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agiladi. That's it. Shavua Tov, folks. Anybody who's in Kansas City who's hungry, I am hungry, by the way. They close in 1 hour. Takes 17 minutes from here to get there. 14967 West 119th. Anybody coming? So I'll wait for you. If not, it'll be me and Miss Cooker-Korn. Because even Raquel deserted me on this endeavor. And she had to be blackmailed into coming anyway. No? Okay, I try.
I'm sorry. We didn't plan on it, so we ate earlier. But report on it. Maybe next Friday we'll try Nepalese. If it's
I shall report on it. I shall do that for you.
As you usually do.
Right, exactly. That'll be the sermon next week. But finally, I want to profusely thank for Edgar, for all the tzoras I go through in my crazy rabbinate. It's because I get, once in a while, I get a reward of having a wonderful student like Anisia, like Edgar. I don't want to be mentioning everybody less, so maybe Cesar will feel like I don't love him. I love all of you. But some of them, like Edgar's really one of a kind. Walfred's a great guy as well. Anyway,
I want to thank you, Rabbi. Thanks so much for your invitation. Thanks to all the great temple community. And I hope to have the opportunity to visit you someday, maybe. I don't know when, but I would like to visit you. I love you.
Always welcome. And perhaps I'll even feed him Nepalese food if it's any good.
Perhaps. Okay. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov, folks. Bye-bye.
Shavua Tov.